Omagyanatimanasyantinamshanaslankem Shakshurmitam yena tasmai shigurave namah Shitchetayamanavishtam staftam yena bhutale Swayam upakadamayam dadati svapadam tikam Vandeham shiyuda padkalam Shigum vaishnavam shah Shiyupam jajatam sakanaragnatam vitam tam sajivam Satvaitam sabdutam parjana saitam Shri Krishna Chinaya devam Shri Radha Krishna padam sakanalite Shri Vishakam vitam sa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandha Jatpate Kopesha Kopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanshna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanashri Vishavana Suti Devi Pranamama Hari Priya Vakha Kalpa Visha Kripa Sindhivasha Patram Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasam Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachani Desatana Srila Prabhupada ki. So Bharat Maharaj, he was a great king. We know India is called Bharat in Hindi. So that's India is called has received this name. So Bharat, of course, Arjuna is also called sign of Bharat, that descendants of Bharat. So Bharat Maharaj, he followed strictly the Vedic system, and when his son was grown up, then he installed his son on the throne and he renounced his kingdom and went to the forest to meditate on Lord Vishnu. So he gave everything up, and he had something to give up. He was emperor of the whole world. And he had so many queens and a big army, so many things. He renounced everything. He went to the forest. In the forest he was meditating, like the yogis, and doing some Agnihotra, some fire sacrifices and rituals, but he was meditating on Vishnu in the heart, and he attained practically the position of Samadhi. He attained Bhava, which is way beyond liberation. It's the preliminary state of love of Godhead. It is the stage where love for Krishna starts to become awakened in the heart. So because prema is only condensed bhava, it is more concentrated. So he became a great yogi, a great devotee, who was nearly going back to Godhead. But then, what happened? There was suddenly a deer, a she-deer, appeared before him, and there was a roar of a lion, very loud. I don't know if you have ever seen a lion in the zoo and if they really roar. It's powerful. So when the deer heard that, the deer became frightened and jumped away, but while she jumped away, she gave birth to a baby deer which fell into the water. And then that baby deer was there. And that happened before the eyes of Bharata Maharaj, and he saw this, and he's a Kshatriya by nature, and Kshatriya means to protect others. So he saw that helpless deer and he was thinking, if I don't save it, if I don't feed it, it will die. And he started to take care of the deer. And now I will read from the Bhagavatam what happened further. So the theme here is, he renounced everything, his kingdom and so on. He became very elevated spiritually, and then he became attached again. That after giving up everything, that's quite a serious thing. We will hear Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
I will read a number of verses. It's the story how we became attached. And then we will have a discussion after that. Gradually, Maharaj Bharata became very affectionate toward the deer. He began to raise it and maintain it by giving it grass. He was careful. He was always careful to protect it from the attacks of tigers and other animals. When it itched, he petted it, and in this way he always tried to keep it in a comfortable condition. He sometimes kissed it out of love, being attached to raising the deer. Maharaj Bharata forgot the rules and regulations for the advancement of spiritual life. And he gradually forgot to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After a few days, he forgot everything about his spiritual advancement. Next text. The great King Maharaj Bharata began to think, alas, this helpless young deer, by the force of time, an agent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has now lost its relatives and friends and has taken shelter of me. The Kshatriya's friend. It does not know anything but me, as I've become its father, mother, brother, and relatives. This deer is thinking in this way, and it has full faith in me. That's all what his mind is telling him. Illusory energy, very strong. It does not know anyone but me, therefore I should not be envious and think that for the deer my own welfare will be destroyed. I should certainly raise, protect, gratify and fondle it. When it has taken shelter with me, how can I neglect it? How can I neglect it? Even though the deer is disturbing my spiritual life, I realize that a helpless person who has taken shelter cannot be neglected. That's what he thinks. You will hear later what Prabhupada says about that. That would be a great fault. Even though one is in the renounced order, One who is advanced certainly feels compassion for suffering living entities. Yes, that's why sannyasi are preaching. One should certainly neglect his own personal interest, although they may be very important to protect one who has surrendered. Due to attachment for the deer, Maharaj Bharata lay down with it, walked about with it, baited it, and even ate with it. Thus his heart became bound to the deer in affection. When Maharaj Bharata wanted to enter the forest to collect kusha grass, flowers, wood, leaves, fruits, roots, and water, he would fear that dogs, jackals, tigers, and other ferocious animals might kill the deer. He would therefore always take the deer with him when entering the forest. When entering the forest, the animal would appear very attractive to Maharaj Bharata due to his childish behavior. Maharaj Bharata would even take the deer on his shoulder and carry it due to affection. His heart was so filled with great love for the deer that he would sometimes keep it on his lap when sleeping or his chest. In this way, he felt great pleasure in fondling the animal. When Maharaj Bharata was actually worshipping the Lord, or was engaged in some ritualistic ceremony, although his activities were unfinished, he would still at intervals get up and see where the deer was. In this way he would look for it, and when he could see that the deer was comfortably situated, his mind and heart would be very satisfied, and he would bestow his blessings upon the deer, saying, "My dear calf, may you be happy in all respect." If Bharat Maharaj would not see the deer, his mind would be very agitated. He would become like a miser who, having obtained some riches, has lost them and then become very unhappy. When the deer was gone, he would be filled with anxiety and would lament due to separation. Thus he would become illusioned and speak as follows. Bharat Maharaj would think, "Alas, the deer is now helpless. I am now very unfortunate, and my mind is like a cunning hunter, for it has always filled with cheating propensities and cruelty. The deer has put his faith in me, just as a good man who has a natural interest in good behavior forgets the misbehavior of a cunning friend and puts its faith in him. Although I have proved faithless, will this deer return and place its faith in me? Alas," so his mind is going mad. "Alas, it is possible that I shall again see this animal protected by the Lord and fearless of tigers and other animals. Shall I again see him wandering in the garden eating soft grass? I do not know, but the deer might have been eaten by a wolf or a dog, or by boars that flock together, or the tiger who travels alone. Alas, when the sun rises, all auspicious things begin. Unfortunately, they have not begun for me. The sun god is the Vedas personified, but I am bereft of all Vedic principles. The sun god is now setting, yet the poor animal who trusted me since its mother died has not returned." It's full exciting. That deer is exactly like a prince. When will it return? When will it again display its personal activities, which are so pleasing? When will it again pacify a wounded heart like mine? I certainly must have no pious assets, otherwise the deer would have returned by now. Alas, the small deer, while playing with me and seeing me feigning meditation with closed eyes, would circumambulate me due to anger arising from love, and it would fearfully touch me with the points of its horns, which felt like drops of water. When I placed all the sacrificial ingredients on the kusha grass, So he's doing his rituals, but his mind is not with Krishna, it's with the deer. So I placed all the sacrificial ingredients on the kusha grass. The deer, when playing, would touch the grass with its teeth and pollute it. When I chastised the deer by pushing it away, it would immediately become fearful and sit down motionless, exactly like the son of a saintly person. Thus I would stop, it would stop its play. That's his imagination. After speaking like a madman in this way, Bharata got up and went outside. Seeing the footprints of the deer on the ground, he praised the footprints out of love, saying, "O fortunate Bharata, your austerities and penances are very insignificant compared to the penance and austerity undergone by this earth planet. Due to the earth's severe penances, the footprints of this deer, which are small, beautiful, and most auspicious and soft, are imprinted on the surface of the fortunate planet. This series of footprints show a person like me, who am bereft due to loss of the deer, how the animal has passed through the forest, and how can I regain my lost wealth by these footprints. This land has become a proper place for Brahmins who desire heavenly planets or liberation to execute sacrifices to the demigods." Maharaja Bharata continued to speak like a madman, seeing above his head the dark marks on the rising moon, which resembled a deer. He said, "Can it be that the moon, who is so kind to an unhappy man, might also be kind upon my deer, knowing that it has strayed from home and has become motherless? This moon has given the deer shelter near itself just to protect it from fearful attacks of lions." After perceiving the moonshine, Maharaja Bharata continued speaking like a crazy person. He said, "The deer's son was so submissive and dear to me that due to its separation, I am feeling separation from my own son. Due to a burning fever of this separation, I am suffering as if inflamed by a forest fire. My heart is like a lily of the land, is now burning. Seeing me so distressed, the moon is certainly splashing its shining nectar upon me, just as a friend throws water on another friend who has high fever. In this way, the moon is bringing me happiness." Sukadev Goswami continued, "My dear king, in this way Bharata Maharaj was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire, which was manifest in the form of the deer. Due to the fruitive results of his past deeds, he fell down from mystic yoga, austerity, and worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If it were not due to his past fruitive activities, how could he have been attracted to the deer after giving up the association of his own son and family, considering them stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual life? How could he show such uncontrollable affection for a deer? This was definitely due to his past karma." The king was so engrossed in petting and maintaining the deer that he fell down from his spiritual activities. In due course of time, insurmountable death, which is compared to a venomous snake that enters the hole created by a mouse, situated itself before him. At the time of death, the king saw the deer was sitting by his side exactly like his own son and was lamenting his death. Actually, the mind of the king was absorbed in the body of the deer, and consequently, like those bereft of Krishna consciousness, he left the world, the deer and his material body, and acquired the body of a deer. However, there was one advantage. Although he lost his human body and received the body of a deer, he did not forget the incidents of his past life. This is extraordinary. Yes?
In what circumstances did he die? By what was the cause of his death?
I don't know, that's not mentioned, but death came, and the deer was just before him.
I don't know where they took it. In Bhagavatam there's Bharata Maharaj falling off a cliff.
Yeah.
While searching for the deer.
Yeah, that, no. It's not mentioned in the purple title. So.
But his mind went to the deer only. That's all he was thinking of at the time of death.
He was only thinking of the deer.
Actually, if I may ask, maybe Bharata became a deer, and then the deer fell from the cliff, then it became the Bharata. That's a linkage.
But what was the cause of his spiritual fall down? Compassion. Compassion for the deer.
It seems to be.
Can he not be compassionate? Can he not be compassionate?
That's a good thing. It should be good. Compassion is a good thing.
Compassion is a good thing.
Maybe it's ego, because he thinks he's the protector.
Yeah, he thinks that's false ego.
He
thinks himself the protector. That.
But you said as a kshatriya, that was his duty.
That was his duty, but thinking myself a kshatriya is false ego. That's false ego, and that is what we have to give up for false ego.
So that's considered the material duty.
Yeah.
Okay. But you have to transcend or get beyond that.
It's true that compassion is good, but what he did was not good, and there's a reason for it. You cannot always be compassionate just at the cost of your spiritual life.
Yeah, it was because it became attachment.
What do we have to learn from this past? Yeah?
He was alone. If we are in association of devotees, they will help us to tell us what is wrong, what is right.
That is one point. In itself, it's not the main reason, but it's a good point.
I think whatever person that we have to take care of, like by compassion, can do it, but by detachment and by remembering that this person is Krishna's servant.
Yeah, that's okay. By detachment, we take care of people with detachment, you say.
Well, remembering that they are connected to Krishna ultimately.
Yeah, that's not always easy.
No.
That should we always take care of people in need?
Only the ones that are under your care, maybe like your children.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you are this age of a mother.
Srila Prabhupada gives in his purports at least 10 reasons for his fall down. And we will go over them now. You want to hear what Srila Prabhupada says in his purport?
And there's a lot of mystery involved here. So.
The first thing to learn from this pastime is don't neglect your duties in devotional service. That you can take care of others, but don't stop chanting, don't stop hearing about Krishna. Don't give up your sadhana out of compassion for someone else, not at the cost of your spiritual life. And that's a main point. Do not sacrifice your spiritual practice for the bodily comfort of others. We cannot do that. And that's Srila Prabhupada said this was misplaced compassion. Misplaced, he says. And because it's compassion for the body, not for the soul. You cannot elevate an animal to spiritual consciousness. That was not possible. So he says that he should not, he was with his mind trying to prescribe his own medicine, playing his own doctor. Because at the end of the previous chapter, where the character of Bharata Maharaj was described, because what he did was he gave up his spiritual practice willingly. He wanted to give up his spiritual practice for the deer. And we will read a purport later that then the Lord himself will punish you. We will come to that later. But first, Srila Prabhupada said, if we deviate from the process given by the previous acharyas, we may fall down even if we are advanced. So, that is something to never do. You build up your sadhana, maintain your chanting. Don't give up chanting at any cost. If you stop chanting for some time, I've heard that it's very difficult to come again to the standard. So the power of devotional service is like a razor's edge. We must be very careful in the execution of devotional service to maintain our practice. Because Bharata Maharaj is trying to find excuses not to do his sadhana. Or his mind makes so many arguments to justify or rationalize what he is doing. It says, the deer has taken shelter of me. It has no one else. He has still this Kshatriya mentality, this false ego of a Kshatriya, that I'm the protector. But Krishna is a real protector. That Prahlad Maharaj said, what's the use of a good medicine if the person is destined to die? If a doctor cannot protect his patients if Krishna is not willing. So we had also those who have read the Mahabharata at the end. The Pandavas are walking to the north, and there is a dog that goes with together with Yudhishthira Maharaj, and it comes high in Himalayas, and there Indra comes and said, please come with me to heaven. And what does Yudhishthira Maharaj say? If this dog has taken shelter of me, if this dog cannot go with me, I'm not going. But of course, then the dog was a demigod in the form of a dog. Anyway, to test him. Yeah. Also, we heard in the Bhagavatam, and we know that Vidura came to see Dhritarashtra at the end of his life and said, yeah, you are living here at the cost of Bhima, who murdered all your sons, and so on. And anyway, he was successful in inspiring Dhritarashtra to leave for the north and become at least a Dhira that before he left this world, before leaving this world. So Dhritarashtra and Gandhari left in the night, and then the next day Yudhishthira Maharaj thought that, oh, they will not survive in the forest and it's all my fault. It's that same mentality that of a Kshatriya. That also we had Maharaj Parikshit. That's when he detects that Kali is in his kingdom, he wants to kill him. And he was compassionate to Kali because Kali surrendered to him. That, so I must protect him. That's the Kshatriya. And this spirit was still there. But this is a function in the Varnashram. Some think themselves to be kings, others think themselves to be Brahmins. But on a higher spiritual platform, we must transcend it. But still, that was still there. Srila Prabhupada says his compassion for the deer was misplaced compassion. It's not possible to elevate a deer to spiritual consciousness. And you can't help the material body. That's not possible. The body has to go a certain way, finally. So, if you want to help someone, then you must first follow the regulations of your spiritual life and be strong. If you become concerned with the bodily comforts of others, you may fall down. That's strong. But yeah, we must feel compassion, and then it is said even a sannyasi feels compassion. That was one of the arguments of Bharat Maharaj. But a sannyasi feels compassion for the soul, therefore he preaches. But we should not give up our own spiritual interest for the sake of bodily comforts of another. That's very dangerous. Don't give up your spiritual life to protect the surrendered soul. We cannot do that. And when this was presented many years ago by Mother Narayani, they say mothers may have that feeling. I sacrifice my own spiritual life for my child. Very dangerous. Because they think this child is helpless. If I'm not feeding it, it will die. That's the same reasoning as Bharat Maharaj. I have heard mothers writing to their spiritual master, can I chant 8 rounds? But no. It's very dangerous to do that. Don't do welfare activities to improve the material condition. That's not our business. So, another cause of fall down was the distraction. He was doing his rituals, but his mind was not with Vishnu in his rituals, of Krishna. It was with the deer. So that's important. In our spiritual practice, our mind must mean manmana, thinking of Krishna. That's the purpose of the external ritual, to internally focus your mind on Krishna. But he was focusing his mind on the deer and doing the rituals externally. So he became materially attracted, Srila Prabhupada said. Another reason. So he was purposefully neglecting his spiritual life. And that is the cause of his fall down. So why did he get a deer body? Why put Krishna in a deer body, and at the same time he remembered his past life? Why did Krishna do that? Must be a purpose.
To bring him back to his original attachment to Krishna. In other words, to see what mistake he had done.
That's Srila Prabhupada gives two reasons, and that's the second one. To rectify him, not really punish him, but to rectify him, to bring him back, as you say.
Yes.
And the second reason why Krishna gave him a deer body. Of course, you have the laws of nature. Yam yam vapi brahvam chant ante kalevam tam tam avetikanta satata bhava bhavata. One the consciousness one has at the time of one's death will determine his next body. That's the material nature. I mean, two reasons here why Krishna gave him these two things at the same time, a deer body and remembrance of his past life. So we are at one, to rectify him. Yeah? Someone?
Because Krishna protects our spiritual advancement. So because he made advancement, then he gave him this remembrance to make sure he's not losing his progress.
It's going in the good direction. He gave him the remembrance. Why? Although he was in a deer body, so that he could increase his desire to perform properly devotional service. And he will learn it. Next life he will become Jad Bharat, and he will have learned this lesson. He will have learned this lesson that not. But Srila Prabhupada gives more causes of fall down. Why we can fall down. It's not directly applicable to Bharat Maharaj, but in the purport he writes more causes. Spend time in frivolous talks, talking about mundane sense gratification and all these things. You have to be very careful with whom we associate. And eating voraciously, that's an important thing. It's mentioned in the Gita, in the Bhagavatam. A devotee eats frugally, not much, just what he needs. That's important. Of course, that's different for everyone. Yes?
But I've seen the rationale, so it's all prasadam. There's no fault in eating more prasadam. We think it will give a spiritual benefit, even if we
Yeah.
overeat.
Yes, first answer that. So yes, that is true. In the beginning of the movement, Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you can fill up until here, no problem. And the devotees, yeah, Parananda has told me that in the beginning of the Sunday feast, that they were serving, a first round, and then devotees went for a second, and that were really mountains on the.
Oh my god.
Also the contrast, in the week we ate so simple, and sometimes we underate. We didn't have that much prasad.
Oh, yeah.
But on
We were
Sunday,
waiting
feast.
for the Sunday.
Oh God, we'd catch up for the rest, we'd stock up for the rest of the
But
week.
then Prabhupada later explained this. You can read that in Nectar of Devotion. Rupa Goswami says, yes. One eats prasad, but still if one eats too much, one will also fall down. That, because, yeah.
Because it leads also to oversleeping.
Yeah, of course, that's going together. But that's another cause that Srila Prabhupada, it's going together. If you sleep too much, then it will lead to more sense gratification. It's also a cause of fall down. So it wasn't his karma, Bharat Maharaj. It appears to be karma. But it was due to the Lord's desire. He wanted him to, because normally, in Madhurya Kanambini it's mentioned that when you are at Nishta, or all the reactions of your past sinful and pious activities has become all-pervading. All-pervading is gone. The reactions are eradicated all-pervadingly. So there are no reactions anymore. But still, even after liberation, Nishta is liberation, Ruchi, Asakti, it was of Bhava, but higher spiritual consciousness. But interesting, it got a body over there, but this consciousness was still on that level of practice. Was on that higher level. So in his next life he became Jad Bharat. So Krishna gave him two, that was his rectification. That he had to go to 2 more lives. One as a deer and then Jad Bharat. Then he became the great elevated Jad Bharat. And Jad Bharat, he took birth in a Brahmin family, very elevated Brahmin. But then, that's interesting. His father tried to instruct him, and he did not want to have any relationship with them. Not with his relatives, not with his father. And his father was instructing him in the rituals of karma kanda and cleanliness of a Brahmin and so on. He was instructing him, but he behaved as a fool. And he did just the opposite, and his father became completely frustrated. So why did Jad Bharat do that? Why was he not normal and had relationships with his family? And why did he not take the education of a Brahmin? Of of course, he remembered his previous lives and he learned something. So, why is that? Why did he not follow all this education to become a Brahmin and the Karma Kanda and so on?
Why he didn't want to have any distractions or attachments. And he externally appeared to be a fool, incapable of learning or doing normal things. But was he not self-realized, like beyond the body?
Yeah.
And having learned those intense lessons, now he didn't want to have any more distractions.
So that's one point, distraction. Another point, why he did not have a relationship.
He didn't want to be a false ego, identifying himself as the son of someone, like Brahman. He just
He didn't want to go in the role of this false ego. That's interesting. So he was on practically of love of God. That was his position. But why did he not do that? Now, let's hear what Srila Prabhupada says about it. If one is developed in Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada writes, so he was practically on the highest level of love of Godhead. There is no need to execute the prior regulative principles of Karma Kanda. That this is all to purify ourselves, to learn that you are not the body. But he was far beyond that. And Srila Prabhupada gives examples. Srila Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri was the spiritual master of Vishvara Puri, who was the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. Madhavendra Puri said, this is a prayer of Sri Madhavendra Puri, which Srila Prabhupada quotes, "O regulative principles of karma, please excuse me. I cannot follow all these regulative principles, for I am fully engaged in devotional service. Too busy. He's already on the highest platform." He expressed the desire to sit somewhere beneath a tree and continue chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Consequently, he did not execute all the regulative principles. So all these lower practices and these lower yoga systems, it's meant to realize that we are not a body, that we are Brahman. But then you have to go beyond that. Then you have to become attracted to Krishna in the heart, and then to Bhagavan and develop love. He was far beyond that. Yeah. Who else was beyond his regulative principles? Sukadev Goswami, yeah. Certainly. Who else? And many. Gadadhar.
The Python man.
The Python man, huh? What about the six Goswami? What about Haridas Thakur? What, was he educated in all these things?
No.
He was a Muslim. That most of us from Western background, have you been educated in Karma Kanda in your youth? No? No? We don't even know these things. That then Haridas Thakur became the Namacharya, the holy name. That because Jad Bharat was always engaged in his mind in devotional service. That since he had executed these regulative principles continuously now for 3 lives. He was not interested in continuing to execute them, although his Brahman father wanted to make him a Brahman. You know. So we have the step-to-step process in the Vedas. First you follow the Karma Kanda, then you are going to Jnana Yoga, and then you are going to Astanga Yoga, and realize the Super Soul, and then you come to Bhakti Yoga. That's the step-by-step process of the Vedas. But he was already on the top floor. He did not need to take the step-by-step process. But he behaved externally as a fool, that he did not understand anything. Of course, we have also the Avanti Brahman, became also an Avaduta. The greatest Avaduta is Nityananda. That's the greatest. Also Gaura Kishore Das Babaji, Vamsidhar Babaji. They were all beyond this stage. But finally, what does this show? That Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Name Bhaktya Pranashati, my devotee never perishes. And he says, Ananya Sintyantamam Yechna Parapastite Samnitya Vyuktam Yoga Sema Vamya. I protect the devotee who his mind is always fixed on me. I protect his spiritual life. And I give him what he needs to advance further. And that is exactly what he did with Bharata Maharaja. That is what he needed. What he needed to realize his mistake and bring back to the highest platform. Therefore, Krishna gave him the body of a deer, because he became attached to a deer. But still his consciousness was elevated. A deer doesn't remember his previous life. His consciousness was not that of a deer. He was on the highest platform. So in that sense, sometimes he fell down from bhava. Yes, he fell down, but his consciousness was still on that higher platform. That's also in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in 240, whatever, there is no diminution in this process of devotional service. When you have 2% in this life, Srila Prabhupada in the purpose, next life 2%. So he had already 80-90% at least. And he maintained that. But he had to learn a lesson. And so, Krishna has a plan for Bharata Maharaj, he has a plan for us also. And we are all different. In the Bhagavatam, Krishna had a plan for King Prachinabarishad. Narada Muni had to tell him the whole allegory of King Puranjan to explain him that he must give up these fruitive rituals and come to devotional service. That was his plan. The plan of Ajamil was also to bring him back by giving him a near-death experience. And this dialogue between the Vishnudutas and the Yamadutas. And by that, after hearing that, he understood what happened. he came to his senses and said, I will never do these sinful activities anymore. He got the determination. And then he remembered his Vishnu Dutas, could not forget them. They looked like Krishna, so no way to forget them. And his life was prolonged. Was also, because normally he had to die. And after that he went to Hardwar, and he took up again his regulated devotional service and became completely purified. The same thing Krishna wanted him to bring back. But even more subtle in the Bhagavatam, like you have the person of Sudam Vipra. Sudam Vipra was,
Krishna's child.
yeah, and of course he was very poor. Why was he very poor, Sudam Vipra? Someone knows?
Because he thought himself like a steer Brahman. No?
That's one explanation, yeah.
Then they were under two different trees, and what I heard that Sudamvipra had the prasada, and when there was a big rainstorm, and he didn't share with Krishna, he ate the whole prasada.
I never heard that, but could be a good explanation. But the explanation of our acharyas in the Bhagavatam is a little different. But, and it goes in the direction that you said. It taught him an austere Brahman. And therefore, he was averse of sense gratification. Because sense gratification becomes between me and Krishna. I don't want sense gratification. I'm averse to it. And because he didn't want sense gratification, Krishna gave him what he wanted, and he remained very poor. So it's just what he wanted. But being averse to sense gratification is an obstacle to make spiritual advancement. Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita 3:34 about paripantina, two obstacles, raga, dvesha, attachment and aversion. And he was averse, and Krishna wanted him to correct that. Therefore, when his wife said, yes, we are so poor, go to your friend Krishna and ask him for something. He didn't want to do that, but because his wife wanted it, because she said, yeah, it's not for me, but I have to take care of you, but I can't. So it's for my service. So he went to see Krishna, and there he came into the palace, and he saw all this opulence. And then he saw all these yadus, who are also devotees, living in great opulence. And he started to understand, yes, I should not be averse. I should not be attached either. Krishna wanted him to bring him back to the neutral position. And that is what happened. He didn't ask Krishna anything, but after that, he went back home after visiting Krishna, and then his little hermitage became a palace, and so much opulence, and his wife was in royal dress, and he didn't recognize her at first, but anyway. But then he said, okay, Krishna wants me to enjoy, I accept it. And by that, but he remained living as before in his hut. That very simple. So Krishna is a plan for us to rectify us. But I want to conclude with the following. Yeah, Krishna rectifies us, very good. He does that as a service to us. But there's no need to go to that. You can learn, Srila Prabhupada said, you can learn in 3 ways. The first way of learning is that one hears that stealing is not good and one refrains from stealing. That's first class. The second class is one hears that stealing is not good, but is still inclined. But then he sees someone arrested and say, okay, I'm not going to do it. That's too bad. Second class. Third class is one hears that stealing is bad. One sees that someone is arrested and still is inclined. First he has to be arrested himself to give it up. So 3 ways of learning. What's the first class learning? You hear daily the Bhagavatam and you learn from the Bhagavatam. And by that we are developing the right attitude. And we get it right. And then Krishna does not have to intervene. So that is therefore, we chant Hare Krishna. We follow the regulative principles. But we hear also. We hear. Because unless we hear, our determination is not fixed. It's more sentimental. We don't come in the right attitude. So that should be there. Chanting and hearing daily. The Bhagavatam. Therefore Krishna gives us the Bhagavatam. Good. At the end, any question? Yes.
Maharaj, so we want to ask one question, actually 2 questions, but if you allow me, I just ask one. Because
Yeah.
So you mentioned first class is learning from just hearing that stealing is bad and not stealing. But say example, learning that stealing is bad, looking around and everyone is stealing. How do we get this determination to follow that we heard that stealing is bad? Everyone around is stealing. How do we, what do we trust? How do we...
That's right, what you are saying. Suppose I want to become a surgeon and I read all the books of surgery and now I'm going to conduct my first operation. Who wants to be a patient? I'm learning from a book how to drive a bus. And then one day I'm going to drive a bus. Who want to drive with me? It means you can read the book, the Bhagavatam, but you have to still learn the practice from a devotee. Therefore you need a spiritual master. You need association with devotees who are practicing that you see that. And that's also important for devotional service. We cannot just learn it from the book. We must see the book in practice. And Srila Prabhupada speaks about that. We recite every morning this verse, and this, yeah. Nastvaya Sabhata Sunityam Bhagavata Sevyam Bhagavata Dhamasya Bhakta Bhakta Nasti. In the purpose, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the book Bhagavat and the person Bhagavat. Both are needed. Not one with the other. Because also we have to learn the book Bhagavat by the person Bhagavat who has realized it. Because he can explain you how he realized this knowledge. Therefore we must have class every day on the Bhagavatam to exchange realizations. And it's good to have many speakers, advanced speakers, and they come and go and from it, and they will look at it from a different perspective. And where we learn more and more and go deeper and deeper. Does that help? Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. I have a few things also, but you said we cannot give up our own interest for helping others or being compassionate. But I get that feeling from you were there and you were just reading about King Rantidev. And it seemed he was glorified because he didn't even think what was good for him.
Yeah, but we forget one thing here, that we cannot give up our own spiritual practice to help others. That should not be done. We can be compassionate and help others, but not at the cost of stopping chanting Hare Krishna, not at the cost of breaking the regulative principles, not at the cost of hearing the Bhagavatam.
Or leaving association
Yeah.
with devotees.
But you can be compassionate for everyone. Of course, that compassion must be rightly applied. That if one comes to you, please be compassionate to me, give me a knife, I want to kill these people, this person, and you give them a knife, is that compassionate? So it must be done with discrimination. Real compassion is spiritual compassion. It's giving them spiritual knowledge. And therefore, like we do Food for Life, Prabhupada said, yes, Food for Life, distributing prasadam, but they should know that it's prasadam and let them chant Hare Krishna before you give them. Then there is a spiritual purpose, that, but not just good charity or for the sake of charity. That is not helpful. Everyone has his karma. And karma must come. The body has to go to the reaction of previous lives.
Thank you, Maharaj. So on that, you mentioned sometimes we have compassion for the body also.
Yeah.
Like no, so, but when we serve Vaishnavas, mostly it comes to serving their body. Like we facilitate them, we bring them prasad, we try to make them comfortable.
Yeah.
So that's is that Maya or
No, that's not Maya. Certainly not. That because the devotee's body is engaged completely with body, mind, and service, and body, mind, and words in the service of the Lord. And we must maintain this body very nicely. It is a gift of Krishna, this body. And it's a gift that we need to make spiritual advancement. Prabhupada said first, health first. I've been trained by Prahlad Maharaj. And he was Minister for Health for many years. And he gave all these courses. And I attended all these courses. And I lived with him for months and months. We were sleeping in the same room. I saw everything he was doing. And the most important point is, for health is balance. Balance. But serving devotees helps us to advance. That's Vani and Vapu. Vapu, we serve the body and we facilitate them. That's not for sense gratification. That is to help them to facilitate their service for Krishna. It's a very important point. Devotee care. But yeah, it's for the body. It's for the body and for the soul at the same time. And but that should be there. We have to learn to take care of each other, body and soul. And, Murari Gupta was one of the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. He was a doctor, and he was treating their material disease and their spiritual disease. And he gave a prescription always for both. That he said, yes, you take this medicine, but you also chant Hare Krishna so many times. So that's always there. But that was with ordinary people, but devotees are sadhus, and service to the sadhus is an important means of making spiritual advancement. Is that right?
You mentioned how Prabhupada said that it was not due to karma of Bharata, that he had to go through this. And I think it's probably also because we hear it through Bhagavatam, so we take, we learn from this too. I was wondering, because these great personalities like Sudama, the Lord owns, intimate friend, still has to go through these little challenges, isn't it? Could it be also that Krishna, because we hear how Radharani always discovers more and more qualities of Krishna. Is it also that we get to discover more and more Krishna because he's infinitely unfolding?
First about it was not Bharat Maharaj karma. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says it appears to be, it is Prarabdha karma, but it's not, it's Krishna's arrangement. And the point there is that why does that happen with Krishna's devotees, and why is that in the Bhagavatam? It's also Krishna's pastimes who want us to show, like Bharat Maharaj, he shows the danger. Never give up your spiritual practice. Don't give it up. Especially it was in 1972, Montreal told me, Srila Prabhupada gave these Nectar of devotional series there. And he said, if you willingly give up your spiritual practice in Vrindavan, next life you will become a monkey in Vrindavan of a hog. Yeah, he said these things. So especially in Vrindavan, I'm very careful with that. But these are lessons to be learned for us. And Krishna uses his pure devotees to perform a drama so that we can learn. And that is certainly there. And he used Bharat Maharaj for that to show us the importance of maintaining nice sadhana. And if you maintain your sadhana, then Krishna will always protect your consciousness and spiritual life. The body has to go, but our consciousness, that determines our future. That he protects our consciousness always. That's Krishna's insurance policy for us. He always will take care of us. And sometimes he may also protect the body when needed. We've seen that with Prahlad Maharaj and so on. And also in our lives that I think with all the travelings that I've done, I must have had, without Krishna's protection, I think I wasn't there anymore. That so many times he protected me. Good. Yeah, getting late. Thank you very much. Shantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Yes, Practical Swami Maharaj ki.